Sabree, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas. Santa Claus is on Cass Community Social Services, and I want to ask you a big favor. I'd like you to contribute to Cass Community Social Services for Christmas. That's a great Christmas present for the entire family, and it does great things. Santa Claus is down here visiting kids who unfortunately are unhoused, and we want to give them a very, very special Christmas. Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho.
Boy, was that a good-looking Santa Claus.
Oh,
Bill,
my God.
you've got to add another pillow under there. You're too rangy. You look like Santa on Ozempic.
You're too fit.
You're too fit.
Well,
yeah,
you can't please some folks.
Well, good
Listen,
morning,
hold on.
everybody.
I just want to say this to folks who are listening, who are willing to contribute. Santa Claus is going to match any donations made during this show.
Really?
Yeah. So
All right.
make
There
me,
you go.
punish me.
Okay.
Go on CassCommunitySocialServices.org. Put in Santa when you contribute at the bottom on who you're donating for,
Okay.
and we'll match those funds. Punish
Bill,
me.
I am putting myself down for $100. So there you go.
Thank you.
There
Okay.
you go. And speaking of what show this is, welcome to the week that was. I'm saying, just because I don't know if there was confusion out there, people wondering if this was, Jerry's telethon all over again. And we've got our own doppelganger, actually, the one and the same. One of our two attorneys, Bill Seikaly, who is also Santa Claus, who actually said, and let me give the disclaimer in a non-masochistic way, it's okay to punish him. We have
Whitney, make me feel cheap.
God, Bill, this is still a holiday show. We also have Steve Fishman in his Mumford High jersey. We have labor and community activist Barb Ingalls. We have our veteran journalist Nancy Derringer, and of course our co-founder of Deadline Detroit, Allan Lengel. Well, we couldn't.
Joel, by the way, says the power's out in California where he's at. So.
Oh my
Oh,
God!
it's nice Wonderland after all, isn't it?
Well, actually, go ahead, Steve.
No, I mean that's even worse than what happens in Grosse Pointe. Oh my God!
You mean the dreaded fish flies? Well, no, I mean wishing you best and being safe out there, Joel. I know that the storms are quite violent, especially in Southern California, as they are here in the Metro Detroit area, or a little bit in the north. Apparently, the Zilwaukee Bridge is closed right now because of the ice on it. So please be safe. There's nowhere that you can be safe. Well, relative terms, you're definitely safer being at home watching our show than you are being on the roads. And the key word there is relatively safe. So anyways, we couldn't let 2025 go past without one more show just to wrap it all up. So let's get started with, of course, something that some of you may have gotten in your Christmas stockings, copies of the transcripts or other documents from the Epstein files. The Department of Justice has been releasing them, sort of, and it is a very trickly effect by which they are doing so, but apparently there's been another dump of somewhere around 750,000 documents. Another million, in fact, could also be released. Some of the intriguing ones included, of course, several mentions of President Trump. There was what seems to possibly be an apocryphal letter that Jeffrey Epstein was purported to have sent to none other than convicted sex offender Dr. Larry Nassar in a kind of jail cell confessional, if you will. But clearly, it looks as though there are a lot of people that are implicated within this, and the sordid nature of Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile and sex trafficking empire seems to be metastasizing. Thoughts from all of you? Alan.
Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, Steve.
Always defer to Steve on these. He's the guy. Steve is muted. Unmute Steve.
I didn't mute him, actually.
Unmute Steve.
What?
Every time I'm at home, Lengel complains I ruin the whole thing, this, that, and the other, you know. So
No, it's only when you're home. There's some always static, but so
I know,
far,
and I'm home. So anyway, I want the viewers to understand the business with that letter. It's a little bit strange. I don't know anything about handwriting. I don't know whether they did a handwriting analysis, which is really the simplest way to do it. But people need to understand that letters coming from prisons, jails, whatever, the fact that it was 3 or 4 days after, that's not the least bit unusual. I will get mail from clients of mine or even friends of mine who are locked up where when you read the date they wrote it, it was April the 3rd, and it gets to you in Detroit, even though they wrote it from Milan, it gets to you on April the 18th. So that part of it was not so strange. But I don't see what's the big deal. Just get a handwriting expert. And handwriting experts, they're not perfect, but they can give you a pretty good idea if that was a letter he really wrote. I'm a little suspicious of it personally.
It's too good to be true. I feel like it's too on the nose.
Yeah,
Bill.
Yeah, look at Steve's right. We've got some great handwriting experts in Michigan. This is not rocket science. We could figure it out. It may be a forgery. It may be fake, but there's just more to the story. If it's fake, if it's a forgery, who did it? What was their motivation? There's a lot here that ought to be looked at because the timing is very interesting. But look, is it going to be a news shock? Is anybody going to be surprised if the content is true? Does anybody believe that Donald wasn't interested in young girls?
No,
And didn't engage in this stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, he complimented Jeffrey Epstein. You go, yeah, he really likes the women and some young ones too.
Right.
You know, it's interesting. Also, I did a story which had come out before, but it was included. It was a federal lawsuit out of Manhattan in 2020 that they included in the Epstein dump of the files, and it was about Epstein and Ghislaine. Is that the correct?
Ghislaine.
Ghislaine.
Both going to Interlaken up there in the northern Michigan in 1994, and there was a 13-year-old girl sitting between classes, and they went up to her and befriended her, and then Jeffrey Epstein said, "I want to get your mother's phone number," and Jeffrey Epstein told the little girl, "I give out scholarships and blah blah blah." So she was from Florida. When they went back to Florida, Epstein got a car, picked up the mom and the daughter, and basically groomed her. And at some point started raping the girl as a teenager. And you have letters included also in the dump from Interlaken thanking Jeffrey Epstein for donating $200,000 for the Epstein cabin or whatever to have for visitors in Interlaken. So he had been a camper there in 1974. But he built a cabin there so he could go there and, groom and who knows what else.
And run wild among there. And the thing is, this more than anything else, I think, is a key insight into his brain. Because these guys, he doesn't want to think of himself as just a sleazy child molester. He wants to think of himself as a cultivator of talent.
A benevolent.
I mean, so many of these girls, like the farmer girls, the sisters, Maria and I forget the other girl's name. They were artists. They were visual artists, painters. And, he and I think it's mentioned in that letter, whether it's fake or not, that we are we believe in the beauty of young women and, making their talent flower or whatever it is. So it's just an interesting insight to me. But
well, the lawsuit does say he reminds the girl, look, you can't make it without me. And then while he's like coming on to her and stuff, he calls her an ingrate for not, I mean, it's so manipulative, and him and Maxwell, I'm just going to say, because I'll never remember how.
It's Ghislaine.
Elaine.
Elaine with a G.
It's like Galinda.
Galinda, yeah.
Well, I mean, but you have also documents that have been published regarding alleged co-conspirators, names on there like retail apparel magnate Les Wexner from Columbus or close to it, Nancy, Ohio. And it seems as though it's creating this web that Wexner, of course, two products that are brands that he has, Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie and Fitch. I remember before he bought Abercrombie and Fitch, it was basically the precursor, the proto Brooks Brothers. And then there were all those allegations of sex trafficking and sexualization. You've got Trump with beauty pageants. I mean, it seems as though, and from someone who's not a conspiracy theorist by nature, that this web of sexualization and opportunities and some of the individuals that are involved is a far bigger deal and a far bigger network than just what it seems as though the tree instead of the forest. It's
funny because I was in Columbus last weekend, and I've always had an interest in Leslie Wexner because as a very young reporter, I actually interviewed him. And this was when he was worth about $600 million at the time, and he was starting to throw his weight around. I mean, he had basically spent his early adulthood working and building his business, and then he got super rich, and then he started, giving a lot of it away as a philanthropist, and kind of making his desires known. You know, that he wants this built this way and this built the other way. But he was. I asked and I was at a party for my old newspaper, and I said, is this story landing in Columbus? Most of these people are journalists, or most of them retired now. And I said, is this getting any traction? His name is on every other building at Ohio State University. And they kind of said, not really. I mean, it's like people are not talking about it there, which I find amazing. And it's not just, you talk about Abercrombie and Fitch. It was limited to, TOO, which was the limited stores and the Victoria's Secret shit pitched to even younger girls. And so, there's one renegade journalist in Columbus who refers to him as Kitty Thong Purveyor. And I think that's probably pretty dead on. Steve, you had something to say.
Steve, yeah.
Yeah, I can't recall. Did we talk about this business with unindicted co-conspirators last Friday?
No, I don't think it had come out yet.
Okay, well, people need to know this as well. This is really important. In federal cases, one of the dangers, and I've seen it, I've represented people who were not really targeted, but they were named as, quote, unindicted co-conspirators. And I was able to get an apology a couple of
Did he freeze?
Cliffhanger.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that.
Did they get to Steve?
There he's. Steve, are you there now?
I'm here.
Yeah, you froze for a minute.
Froze for a
Talking about unindicted co-conspirators and froze.
And you got an apology.
And you said you got apologies from the feds.
What I'm saying is the fact that someone is named as an unindicted co-conspirator doesn't necessarily mean that they even participated in the conduct. And depending on who's running the case, depending on what type of assistant U.S. attorney is running the case, some people like to put more people in there. Most of the time, all the time, unindicted co-conspirators are not named in an indictment. They'll just say that he conspired with Seikaly, Fishman, and other unindicted co-conspirators. So just so people can understand it, that's not unusual that happened. And the fact that they're not named is absolutely not unusual.
Huh.
Do you think that traditional media has been covering this issue well? Yeah.
Wexner? I'm sorry.
Which issue? This issue?
The whole Epstein files thing as a whole.
I only have one quick thing to say, then I want to hear from the journalists. Like
you. Like
we gotta get Steve
Steve's in a bunker somewhere.
What's going on here?
I don't know. You froze again, but you started to say you wanted to hear from the journalist.
You wanted to say one thing and you didn't say it.
And the one thing is that I don't think it makes that much difference in terms of how they're covering it. I think what you have to guard against, they keep showing his pictures. They keep showing him and Maxwell, showing him and he's dressed like a normal person. He looks like, and I think it's really important that people make sure that they emphasize every time how bad this guy is, because the conduct is so beyond the pale. I mean, I can tell you this, having been in the practice of criminal law for over 50 years, I don't think I've ever seen anybody with conduct like this in terms of abusing and misusing young women. This is unbelievable. And the danger is it gets to be kind of, oh yeah, Epstein. I just hope people keep in mind exactly what it is that this guy and Maxwell did for all those years to all those girls.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah,
Bill.
One, I think the coverage has been terrible, not only about Epstein, but about all the people who were his friends and the other people who are participated. But I think that the problem is one that's far greater than just Epstein and the media. I think the real problem is that so much of the media is terrified of Trump and Trump's association with this. You have CBS pulling their story. You have so many outlets bowing and taking the knee to Trump. And I think the media is afraid to really cover the depth of this story in the way that it should be covered. I think that's a huge problem. I think media in this country is terrified right now, and I think you're seeing the effect.
I'm not sure places like New York Times are terrified, but I think there is always like pressure. Like people say, all you write about is Donald Trump, and I'll say, well, you start ignoring everything, and I think with the Epstein thing, the answer people want to know is, what did Donald Trump? What was his role here? What involvement did he have? I mean, that's really the ultimate. And you would think with all the documents, with all Jim Comey's daughter was on the case. You would think with and she was fired. You would think with all these people formerly on the case and with all the documents out that the media would be able to put together a story on here's what Donald Trump did. Here's what his role was here. I mean, interviewing people and stuff like that. You would think there's enough people out there who know. And I think that I think is where the media is really falling short, because it's really about Donald Trump. I mean, there are other people out there, but people want to know, including the MAGA base, which is really, this is sort of the tipping point. There's nothing Donald Trump could do prior to this. He could rape, he could steal, he could, extort, whatever. But this has some meaning to the MAGA base. And I think the reporting could be a lot better in that respect.
And part of the problem is that the MAGA base is not, shall we say, sophisticated consumers of the news or observers of the court system. And what they think the smoking gun is going to be, Donald Trump sitting in a sleazy spa with a 13-year-old on his lap, feeling her up or something. And I don't think that exists. I mean, I think
that for once wasn't his own daughter.
Yeah, that wasn't. Yeah, exactly. And I don't think that exists. But I mean, I keep coming back to Melinda Gates and her, she alone being like the one adult in the room who walked into this townhouse or wherever she was hosted and said, what the fuck are these teenagers doing sitting at this dinner with us? Who are these girls and why are they here? And why do they all look alike? And why are they all under the age of 17? And said and came to the conclusion that any adult with two brain cells to rub together would, and said, I want no part of this. This guy is fucking evil, and walked out of her marriage. I mean, she said that was a big factor in why she divorced Bill. So, I mean, that to me is the smoking gun. It's like, how can all of these Nobel laureates and rocket scientists and fine artists and business tycoons have passed through his world, the Epstein world, and not figured out what the fuck was going on? So, I mean...
Well, they did figure out what was going on and didn't do anything about it.
Right. I mean, that's the other thing.
Time
They
after
didn't do
time
anything.
and after time in my cases, that was the issue. They knew and they didn't say anything about it. You know, oh, he was such a good guy. He was this, he was that. Why was there so much silence?
Yeah.
At the time?
Well, I mean, silence. I mean, omerta in this La Cosa Nostra bill. I mean, here's a president who, although he hasn't gone after by in a way that has caused capitulation by the New York Times, called it a national security threat, and then with his power to approve mergers, you see the capitulations of Netflix and Warner and Paramount and the influence of Ellison and his nepo baby son. Barb.
How many now women have to stand up and say this happened before they are taken seriously? And how many, and these are, you know, every woman can tell you a story about having something happen, you know, and maybe not taken down to Mar-a-Lago and raped, but have something really creepy, sleazy, awful happen and have it just completely blown off.
Mm-hmm.
Every woman that you guys know, every woman. And that's the part that makes me, I mean, the whole thing is sick, and it's just men, when they get power, they think that they can have everything. Not all men can do, you know, and I don't hate men, I don't hate men, but a guy that gets to the top of the business world and has all this money, why shouldn't he have everything? Why shouldn't he have the first crack at a young girl? Why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't he have $1 billion? Why not? And, you know, you want the proof they believe these women. That's what the press should be doing.
Yeah.
But when the press now is killing stories that might offend Trump, I mean, you saw, as Allan alluded to, new head of CBS, Barry Weiss, on the threshold of the 60 Minutes piece, which was looking at Trump's deportations in El Salvador, including the torture of Venezuelan deportees there. She kills the story with this fallacy that, well, we don't have people from the administration on record, even though, of course, they were given the opportunity. Right. So here we have then that the fourth estate, which was supposed to be the gatekeeper, and here we have an example of CBS. Yeah.
That was from Sandy Plotkin's Facebook page.
I mean, the circuit breakers in a society for oversight seem to now completely be gone. But at the same time, some of those gatekeepers seem to be now having second thoughts, including Trump's own congressional geisha, Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik from New York State, who has announced that she apparently will not run for House reelection. Marjorie Taylor Greene has already announced that she's going to be actually resigning from Congress midterm. But Stefanik, if you recall, was all in with Trump. She was also going to run for the Republican ticket for New York State governor. That now she's decided she's abandoning. She was the one who basically held an inquisition in the House committee, bringing up to task presidents of Harvard and Penn and many other university presidents, accusing them of not protecting Jewish students, leading to several resignations, and being quite proud of what she's done. Trump had a come to Jesus moment in the Oval Office when he fell in love with New York Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani, and one of her big nemesis, saying he's not a jihadist, which she has been doubling down on. So she feels rather spurned by the orange man and is looking, I guess, to hit the exit. Is this going to be something we see? Steve?
I think that anybody, her included, anybody that's surprised, the least bit wondering that he would pull a stunt like this, have they ever paid any attention to how the guy has been his entire life? Once a criminal, always a criminal. Once a person who only thinks of themselves, always a person who only thinks of themselves. And for people to say, oh my God, Elise Stefanik started out as a normal person, if I remember, right? When she was first in politics.
Mm-hmm.
And
she was the youngest elected. She was the youngest person elected to Congress at the age of 30 or 25.
And then she sold her soul to Trump and the MAGA people. And then she's shocked. She's as shocked as poor, what's his name was in Casablanca. She's shocked.
You mean
Gambling
Maurice
in the
Chevalier?
system?
Well, Steve, I'm going to give you a reference that I think is actually pre-Purple Rain. I mean, I remember from watching the Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons when Bullwinkle would say, "Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of the hat." He'd say, "Again." He's like, "This time for sure."
That
And
trick never works.
Well, but that's the thing, that obviously you've got a lot of people who didn't watch Rocky and Bullwinkle who think that they are the one who Trump really loves and whom he will not abandon or deceive or betray. Steve.
I have a question for all of you because I don't know the answer, and maybe you journalists know the answer to this. What's the background of many of these people? For instance, her. Did any of them live like a normal person and go to Bagley Elementary and Mumford High School, and you kind of learn how to deal with people out in the world that don't tell the truth, people out in the world that are complete assholes? I mean, where did these people grow up? That's what I want to know.
Well, I know Elise Stefanik went to Harvard, where you thought she would have learned something, but apparently she didn't. She didn't learn that very important life lesson. It's always the people who think it won't be me that blow me away. I mean, it's just. I mean, how many times do you have to see that happen to somebody before you figure it out? I don't know.
All I know is that Bagley Elementary and Mumford sound like Valhalla and Avalon. Did they really truly exist, or are they mythical places, Steve?
You can go right down Roselawn to Curtis today, and you can still see Bagley Elementary. Go on Wyoming and Thatcher. Mumford's still there, but I wasn't talking about, Nance, what she did in terms of college. I'm talking about growing up.
Yeah,
Most of us learn out in the world, when you grow up, who's an asshole, who's not an asshole, who's a bully, who's a good guy. I mean, that's my question. Did they never bump into anybody like Donald Trump when they were growing up? It's impossible for me to understand that.
Look at J.D. Vance. I mean, he started out as a moderate, tut-tutting about Trump, and he just, the devil came up and said, "How much you want for your soul?" And he's like, the vice presidency, and they said, "Fine, sold," and he's going to learn sooner or later. I mean, he is the most repellent politician I can think of. I mean, I used to say that Rick Snyder was the most charisma-free politician I've ever met. I mean, he just has there's nothing that makes you want to say, let's. I bet we could have a cup of coffee and enjoy it.
How about Arlen Specter? Rest in peace. Not exactly.
No, but I mean, but Vance has like anti-charisma. I mean, he just he gives you the fucking creeps. But
I don't know if you've seen his
he has Nancy what the current generation would call anti-Riz.
Anti-Riz. He has anti-Riz for sure. So there you go.
He's gotten into a little thing with Nick Fuentes, the total flaming racist, where Nick Fuentes has attacked J.D. Vance's wife about being
Indian, right?
Yeah,
South Asian.
And so J.D. Vance said that he can eat shit, and then Nick Fuentes came back and said, "Oh, isn't that nice? He's inviting me for dinner for an Indian dinner."
Did he actually say that?
Yes.
Oh my God!
But
then he also, out of the other side of his mouth, J.D. Vance said, "You no longer have to apologize for being white in this country." It's like, when did you ever have to apologize for being white
or racist?
Yeah. So there you go.
Was that or Alan?
I want to go back to Steve's question because I think it's a very legitimate question. I really do. And Steve, I think the answer is in the old phrase, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I think what happened is that these semi-normal people got near power. They wanted more of it, and it corrupted them. And it eats away at their soul. I've seen it time after time. And it's the only explanation that I can come up with for why so many otherwise quasi-normal politicians, people I don't agree with, but quasi-normal politicians have become so corrupted by the MAGA base.
Yeah.
And I think it's the exception to the rule when people have the courage to walk away from it and fight it and say, no, look I'm just not going to get sucked into this nonsense.
That was brilliant.
Cheney's.
Ficus tree over JD Vance. At least Ficus gives us oxygen. Brilliant. Smash the numbers. Well, Bill, if we want to stay literary, the two references we can make are Icarus and Daedalus, flying too close to the sun and the wax on your wings falling off. And the other, of course, is Dr. Faustus, because making a deal with the devil. So, boy, this is what happens when you actually are able to complete a novel on a trip. I just feel so enlightened. But just before we go to commercial, Alan, I want to say that for all of you who are from Illinois, it is a moment of real optimism going into 2026, thanks to a rather improbable benefactor, that being the United States Supreme Court, which has rejected, at least for now, Trump's request to deploy the National Guard to quote unquote protect ICE agents from their campaigns of terror or on the streets of Illinois. So a little bit of seasonal cheer that I suppose we can have. Steve.
But just keep in mind that decision should have been 9-0.
Yes,
and it's 6-3.
Alito, Gorsuch, and Thomas. Yes, they definitely were their authentic selves on that. Alan, let's go to a commercial.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas. Santa Claus is down at Cass Community Social Services, and I want to ask you a big favor. I'd like you to contribute to Cass Community Social Services for Christmas. That's a great Christmas present for the entire family, and it does great things. Santa Claus is down here visiting kids who unfortunately are unhoused, and we want to give them a very, very special Christmas. Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho.
Our very own Bill Seikaly, and just as you saw two of him, your donations during this show can actually go twice the distance. Bill, Santa has pledged that he will match any donations that people make during this show, and we're going to stretch this show out just for that.
Why does Santa speak with a Michigan accent? I don't get it.
Actually, why is there a Palestinian Santa? Oh, yeah. That does make sense.
Palestinians
there used to be a Jewish. Rube Weiss used to be the Jewish Santa. David Weiss was his father was.
I played Santa Claus at the homeless shelter the other day.
Really?
Best thing I've done in a long time. Most painful thing I've done in a long time. A little 12-year-old girl climbed on my lap and said, "You're a great Santa," gave me a hug and a kiss and whispered in my ear, "Do you think God will provide my mom with a home next year so we can live in it?"
Wow.
I was a basket case. So anything we can do for Cass, I'm going to do.
Well, just to get into this ecumenical thing, I was once asked to be a Santa at a Hindu Christmas party. So it just shows everybody can get into this game. And I can tell you this, no shit was served at that Christmas party. So there you go, Nick Fuentes. Foo on you for that. Well, one place, if you have in your itinerary list, and Bill, I know you do quite a bit of traveling as well, is Greenland. And apparently Greenland got back onto Trump's radar, so to speak, because he has now appointed a special envoy to renew calls to buy this Danish territory, none other than Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry. Let me tell you a little bit about the Pelican State. Right now, it ranks 50th in economic well-being, as well as in child economic well-being, 48th in education attainment, 45th in education quality, 49th in health access and quality, 49th in family and community well-being. And somehow the other, this governor has decided that he has enough bandwidth to go ahead and take this as a voluntary role to go ahead and get this rather large landmass to come into the red, white, and blue pale. What do we make of that?
The Greenlanders are going to think the world of Jeff Landry. You know, it's just, I don't. Well, never mind. Words fail me. Somebody else take the helm here.
What I'm really worried about, Nancy, is that Denmark is going to punish us. That those big blue Danish cookies tins are no longer going to be available because they're subject to an embargo.
Where will we put our buttons?
Yeah,
exactly.
Our buttons.
Our sewing kits are going to be lost as a result of that.
You got to ask yourself, how much more embarrassing can this become?
Exactly.
And especially with Trump saying he's not going to take the military option off the table. What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
To a NATO ally.
Really, we're going to think about invading?
Well, this brings up,
isn't he?
Did Article 5 of the NATO Charter ever envisage another NATO member state invading another NATO state?
Isn't that a great question to say?
Yeah, there you go. That's what should be asked. And this show provides you with that earworm for you moving into the second half of your holiday weeks. Well, it looks like Michigan House Republican members are looking to impeach Attorney General Dana Nessel for what appear to be certain purported missteps on certain investigations. Bill, looks like you're shaking your head on this one.
Yeah, impeachment. I wish, I don't think that Dana Nessel should be impeached, but it becomes the word of the year, right? Everybody wants to impeach everybody. It's our country isn't operating very well, and this is just another stunt. I think that the articles of impeachment that were filed by Haley Stevens and such are also off target.
And Sri Tanada are planning on doing that too.
Yeah.
Getting into the fold. Well, speaking of Detroit,
I think what we need to do is get the three branches of government functioning again. The judiciary and the legislative branch need to start taking their roles more seriously again and putting some guardrails up on the legislative branch.
Well said. Well, speaking of Detroit, it looks like Mayor-elect Mary Sheffield has announced David Bowser as her chief of staff. Is this going to be a positive move? Thoughts?
He's been in the Duggan administration. I mean, he's not an outlier by any means. We'll see. I don't know. It's interesting. Her chief of staff is going to be the deputy mayor, which is really not the most important role in that administration. The deputy mayor doesn't play nearly as big a role as the chief of staff. So hopefully the chief of staff is good. But I don't know. It's anyone's guess as to how good it'll be.
I don't know, Alan. I think 2026 is going to be a very big year in ribbon cutting in the city of Detroit, and the deputy mayor is definitely handy when it comes to that.
I'm encouraged by the fact that he was head of housing under Duggan, and housing is such a critically important issue in the city of Detroit. So really, if that's an indication of focus, I'm more optimistic.
Yeah.
Well, before we look at our annual reviews, maybe the first place to start is, Alan, I know you have a video of how many people locally have departed, and I know you have a nice video for that. I'd like to add to that a colleague of mine, Lisa Beth Hawk, who just passed away a few days ago. She was a German languages professor at Wayne State. She was also the head of the junior year study abroad program in Munich. May her memory also and always be a blessing. Two others we can include on that are U of M football coach Sherrod Moore's career, and of course the Lions playoffs hopes. So,
I have to say, those, we always are a little sad when we look back on those reels, but I have to say, almost all of those people made it to a pretty ripe old age. I mean, I saw a lot of people in their 90s and their late 80s, and I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I want to live as long as I can, but the quality of life has to be, fairly high. And I think when you get up into your nonagenarian years, it's always a little dicey.
Well, you know what's going to get you there,
a
Nancy?
95-year-old woman who lives by herself and drives. Yesterday.
The two secrets to that, Nancy, are your swimming and this show.
Good for you. Okay.
Fishman.
I just wanted to add another person. Lengel wouldn't have known who he was, I don't think. Little Carl Carlton, who was from either Mackenzie or Murray Wright, who was a great R&B singer, came up in our time, and he just died, I think, also in the last couple of weeks. Carl
Competition ain't nothing.
All right.
Exactly.
So we are now quite literally in the closing overs of 2025. What, as we go around the horn, do you think was the story of the year? Anyone?
I'll go first
Nancy.
because nobody else is. Everybody's going to pick this, and I think it is the unspeakably naked corruption and destructiveness of the second Trump term. I think we've not seen anything like this, at least not in my lifetime, and probably not in the 20th century. And it's appalling. And the fact that 38 million Americans think it's just fine is equally appalling. So that would be mine.
Okay.
Amen.
Bill? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go along with Nancy. That certainly is the obvious one, but I'd say the biggest story of the year was the failure of the American system, failure of the judiciary and the legislative branch to stand up to the abuse of power of the executive. I think it's an indication that things are likely to fail if we don't do something about it, which goes into the predictions for next year, but I'll wait for that.
All right, Steve.
Well,
You're muted.
Let me unmute myself. I was going to say exactly what Bill just said, but I'll not generalize quite that much. The failure of the Republican leadership, and the Senator Thune is my number one guy that I despise. A lot of the rest of these guys, they've been complete assholes for their whole career. This guy, I thought, actually maybe had a little bit of backbone and a little bit of character. And I think that the absolute failure to challenge this guy from the Republican leadership, that's the thing that I recall the most about this year.
All right, Allan.
I will say, I mean, I agree with all these things, but I also the failing of the media, or the diminishing of the media, of the backbone of the media. We're seeing it with Jeff Bezos, with the Washington Post. We've seen it with the owner of the LA Times. We're seeing it now with Barry Weiss. We're seeing it at CBS, Paramount, ABC settling the lawsuit with George Stephanopoulos, which was just insane. There was no standing for that lawsuit. I think we're seeing, part of the, it's part of the democracy
Collapse.
And it's sad. It's really, as somebody who's been in the business my whole life and worked for publications at the time, the Detroit News was totally stand up, and the Washington Post was previously stand up under the Graham family. It's really painful to see the decline of the media.
Mm-hmm.
Barb.
I would say you're all completely right. So I could just add the failure of the Democratic Party to do anything except go, stop.
Yeah, right. We're going to send a strongly worded letter. So
Right. And I'm going to vote you in, Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
but I'm going to keep my eye on you.
Yeah.
I'm going to seem like a fine person, Kristi Noem, except for that killing the puppy thing. But I mean, you do what you say you're going to do, and look at us.
Yeah. And there and people like Alyssa Slotkin, who along with Gary Peters voted to confirm Kristi Noem. That was the subject of my first No Kings sign.
Yep.
And they said they did it because with the Gordy Bridge opening later this year, we need to have a good relationship with her and so forth. And I can't forgive him. I really can't. I just it's like if you can't. It's like Steve says, if you can't see who these people are now, I don't trust you to figure it out later. So there you go.
Well, I'm going to channel my inner John McLaughlin and say, you're all wrong. The correct answer is Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift engagement.
Yay!
No, I think the story of the year, because the repercussions are now being played out in real time, is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I think it has really caused a tremor and a fissure within MAGA. And I know this is presuming that and assuming that MAGA had a soul, it seems as though this has now triggered a battle for the soul of MAGA. So that's going to have implications, I think, moving forward for elections and really, I think, the cultural landscape.
I think you have a point there. I wouldn't say that's the biggest story, but the rift that has developed over this between the insane people and the somewhat less insane people is truly something to see. I actually plowed my way through that New York Magazine piece about Candace Owens, and she's one of the ones who's like claims that Mossad or somebody killed Charlie Kirk, and it's just
and JFK.
Oh, JFK too? Okay.
Yeah,
well, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
and they hired Epstein. Remember when Epstein was working for the Mossad? He seemed like that type of a guy.
Yeah.
Well, Ghislaine Maxwell's father was actually an asset from Mossad, and there's a lot of speculation that she was too. So, all right. Well, then that brings us to predictions moving forward for 2026. What do your crystal balls have augured for them?
I think we all hope the House changes to the Democrats taking over. At least we can start seeing a little bit more oversight. We'll see some more hearings on the corruption of this. There is no such thing as ethically, conflicts of interest with this administration. I mean, it's just blatant corruption. No, there is no conflicts of interest anymore. There used to be in the first Trump administration. At least there were people pushing back, but now it's like the guy figured out with that 2025 plan how to remove all the guardrails, and they've done an amazing job of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very
Anyone
true.
else? Others? Ned? Steve? Yeah.
Oh, no, I want to go last.
Oh, okay. Bill.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. I've been hesitant to take this position, but I'm going to. I think we're going to have the next Civil War. I think it's going to play out in a very different way. It's going to be a states' rights issue, though. And I think what you're going to see is that the Trump administration will try to nationalize the electoral system. And the states are going to fight back. That will be the battle of the next year. And it will be the battle for the control over the country. If he gets to nationalize the elections, we know that the ethics won't stop him from stealing it afterwards. And the elections will become meaningless, will become a third world or a banana republic, for lack of a better term. But I think that the states and states' rights people will make a fight. And whether or not they are able to wrench power away in the elections will become the story of the next year. I think it'll become the most important story of the next year.
Okay. Nancy, Barb?
I'm hoping that the story will be that the Democrats get on target and start talking to the American people about the things that are the most important to them. And that right now is the economy. You can't afford anything. You know, they said that people went shopping for Christmas this year and they were acting like it's the last time that they were going to be able to do that. And I think that, and I am for abortion rights. Most people don't care about that. They want to be able to buy groceries. You know, the things that we care about are not necessarily. And I think that if they don't get on it, then you're right. Then we're done.
That's a good one. You know what? I'm going to take the ridiculous. I'm going to go take the flyer here. And I'm going to say at this time next year, Donald Trump will no longer effectively be president. He may still be alive, but I think, and I don't want to, I know this is wishful thinking. I know we have been disappointed in this area so long, but I feel like something is brewing in his body, and I feel like it's going to come to a head. You know,
Nancy, are you a South Park fan?
No. In fact, I can't stand South Park. I don't.
Neither could I. But you need to go back and watch this year's series,
okay?
Because the devil and Trump had an affair. Trump got the devil pregnant. Trump wanted him to have an abortion. The devil didn't want to. It's a very long story, but it ends with them doing an ultrasound and the devil being very upset because the Antichrist, who was going to be born, had hung himself. It was Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay.
It was inside the devil.
All right.
It's a ridiculous show, but it leads to your conclusion.
I don't know. I mean, I think it may be like an Ariel Sharon level stroke. It may be some outburst that indicates that full dementia is going on. And I know this is very slim odds, but if I had it, I'm going to put it on my bingo card and just, you know.
Now, Bill, what would have made that actually move from fiction to fact would have been if it was an MRI, not an ultrasound. So then we would have to wonder if it's life imitating or art imitating life. So, so that Steve has already said he wants to go last. My prediction is that many countries in the European Union are going to lurch further to the right politically. I think that
it's already happening. So.
Well, the elections haven't happened yet, but
yeah,
I think that in France there's a very young right winger who is leading in the polls. Nigel Farage is leading in many polls in the UK. A lot of this because of the abject impotence and abdication of responsibility by center left and even right wing parties, and I think that's going to cause the very possibility that the European Union is going to start to fracture even more. And maybe in 5 years, we have to consider if the European Union is still going to be a cohesive single unit again. So prediction for that. Steve.
I appreciate all of these very weighty comments and predictions you guys are making. Mine is much simpler, and it's not weighty, and it doesn't have to do with society.
I know what it is.
In the beginning of April, we will be on this show, and we will all be celebrating the national championship that the University of Michigan will win in basketball.
I knew that was going to be yours.
I want to make a prediction about the Detroit Lions, who are it was the most embarrassing, awful game they've played in years and years. I think they'll fix things, and I think they'll make it to the Super Bowl.
All right. Well, Steve, I'm going to echo your and Alan's people by saying inshallah. So
exactly.
Or from your mouth to God's ear, Alan.
Yes.
Why don't we go to a commercial or our last segment? I'm sorry.
Downtown Detroit, Robert Wells, Schmuck of the Week.
Well, since it is the last episode of the year, I should say, we're going to actually double this. I want you to please give me your Schmuck of the Week and your Schmuck of the Year. They could be the same, of course, but if you have two, please bring them on. Barb.
She's muted too.
Oh.
Let's unmute her.
Unmute Barb.
I didn't. Okay, Barb.
Now you're unmuted.
There you go.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I have two. Jake Paul, who got his ass whipped so severely by a man so beautiful he looked like he was carved out of marble. And that little piece of shit jumped up on the stage, walking like a monkey, gave a Nazi salute, and then in 6 rounds of what's his name, Anthony Joshua, just sort of toying with him. And then in the 6th round, he broke his jaw, and it was
in two places.
In 2 places.
He did it for all of us. It was, and his brother now wants to fight him, and it's like, I'm going to enjoy that too.
Yeah.
So that's my schmuck of the week. The schmuck of the year.
So many.
We went through that. There's so many. It's that orange piece of shit and everybody that enables him to do this. And whether he's really running the government or not, he is the big, ugly, spray-tanned face of everything that's wrong in this country right now. So and I know we're not supposed to use him, but there could be no other schmuck of the year than
Can I go next then? After Barb?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because my schmuck of the week is who the day after Jake Paul got his ass beat and his jaw broken in 2 places, also got KO'd in some fight in Dubai. I can't remember who his opponent was, but I saw
somebody wearing pink boxing gloves.
Somebody in pink boxing gloves, and the knockout was so beautiful because, and I realized you're watching it in slow motion, so you get a sense that you can actually see the punch coming. But he just brings his right back, and he just loads it, and then gives this guy an uppercut to the chin, which is one of the most beautiful knockout punches in all of boxing. While Jake Paul's hands are down by his waist, I don't know why they're down there. You should have them up by your face, the puncher's chance. But he got KO'd, and again, he went down like the sack of shit that he is. And it was a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. And I loved it because that guy is a human trafficker and a rapist and a sadist, and has abused more women probably than he's up there with Epstein. So him. And for the year, I know everybody is going to be, of course I'm thinking about the Orange Menace, but just to be a contrarian, I'm going to say Melania, because I think this year has truly revealed her to be what she is, which is basically just, she's just a whore. I mean, she's took what, $40 million to do this ridiculous documentary that's supposed to come out. I mean, she is grabbing with both hands too. The whole family, it's the smash and grab presidency, and she's in there in the luxury department taking all the Hermes bags. So there you go.
And then the beauty is that the producer of that documentary, Brett Ratner, was seen in one of the Epstein photos.
Of course, yes, of course, they all know each other. So
all right, Steve.
Oh, hold on.
Okay,
we got to
hold on, Steve.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, there you go.
My schmucks of the year, it's a tie between Pete Hegseth and RFK Jr. because I sat there and I analyzed to myself, of all the horrible people, Steve Witkoff, all the horrible people, the other guy, the Commerce Secretary, Lutnick, but Hegseth and RFK Jr. to me, they tied because they've done their best to destroy, literally, 2 pretty serious departments that matter to most of the country.
Yep.
And I can't pick one ahead of the other. I think if I was forced to, I'd say RFK Jr. is worse because that's health. Hegseth is more just bullshit and talk and blah, blah, blah. But those are my 2 guys for the year.
All righty. Bill.
Yeah, my schmuck of the week is a corporation. It's Lenovo Corporation. A generous donor bought 100 computers on December 9th for Cass Community Social Services for their cognitively impaired program and their homeless shelters. Lenovo promised 2-day delivery on December 9th. They're still not here. And despite 14 calls to customer service and a ranting lunatic little bald guy trying to help,
Santa.
they're still not here. Lenovo Corporation, thanks for coming through for homeless and cognitively impaired people. God bless you. You're my schmuck of the week. Schmuck of the year. Look, and I agree with everybody that Donald really deserves it, but I think that the greater and Lord knows the cabinet in toto deserve to be schmucks of the year. I'm going to give it to the MAGA base for putting this guy in power and doing this to our country, to literally destroying a country that I believed in all my life until the last couple of years.
And who are the ones, and you've heard, I'm sure we've all said this a million times, every accusation is a confession. The people, and what are they, why they're so happy now? Because Biden had destroyed the country and they had to bring it back. And that's what, so there you go.
Right. Biden destroyed the country.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which,
yeah.
Which by the way,
when was the last time you heard a president time after time after time talk about what a shithole country we were until he came into power?
Right.
And this is nothing we've ever seen before and hopefully won't see again.
Yep.
Well,
Exactly.
if you really want to know how each of his predecessors was in office, all you got to do is go to the White House and see the Presidential Walk of Fame and the plaques that he has himself erected with the captions that the captions that he himself has generated. Wow. And it's the people's house, so to speak. Allan.
I'm going to go with a former colleague, although we weren't buddies, Howard Kurtz, who's the media critic for Fox News, who went on the air describing the 60 Minutes piece that was killed as totally one-sided, that if they couldn't get a comment from from the administration, they should have gotten a comment from someone else. Well, look, when you are committing crimes against humanity, what are you going to do? Get some right-wing organization to say, well, we believe it's okay to torture people. We believe it's okay to take away due process. I think the only person or entity that should be commenting is the administration. Nobody can defend it. I mean, is somebody, we couldn't get Hitler to talk about the Holocaust, so we got these anti-Semites. Father Coughlin said, hey, not a bad idea, not a bad concept. And the other one is Pam Bondi, just part of the cog there, just the disgrace of all the people who have been fired from the Justice Department and the FBI. People have been forced out. I mean, kudos to the people who quit rather than see the mayor of New York City drop the indictment against him. I give credit to a lot of people like that, but Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, those people have been part of the deconstructing of democracy.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, my schmuck of the week is Turning Point USA, because at their Phoenix convention, notwithstanding all the rhetorical sophistry and snarkiness that was from the stage, the Turning Point USA actually set up a replica tent matching the one in which Charlie Kirk was assassinated to allow fans to take selfies in it.
Yep.
Ashanda.
Okay.
Yep. So I don't want to see any of you standing around Dealey Plaza with a sign saying $5 for a snap. I'm just telling you. But my schmuck of the year has to be both the University of Oklahoma and student Samantha Fulnecki.
Her.
This is the case where there was a psychology class which called for a reactionary essay, not reactionary as in political right, but to react to a prompt, looking at the impact on conformity regarding social gender norms. Ms. Fulnecki disregarded the rubric and the question prompt and decided to answer it using none of the citations and none of the statistics, but citing the Bible to say there are only two genders. She received a 0 on the essay because she didn't follow the rules. And the University of Oklahoma, upon hearing from a complaint by her most certainly prompted by some other special interest group as well, decided to suspend the instructor Mel Kurth, leaving a very, very dangerous precedent for the fact that now the students get to go ahead and call the shots on the rubric. If you see or if you've heard Samantha Fulnecki, you will understand what happened to 4 of the kids after they got thrown out of the Wonka factory. They never really redeemed themselves. She looks like she is one, either Veruca Salt or Violet Beauregard, as odious as any of them are. So Samantha Fulnecki, and shame on you, Sooners, going ahead and complying to that. Well, that brings us to the end of our last episode for 2025, but there's still 5 days left in 2025. Thank you, Steve Fishman. Thank you, Bill Seikaly. Thank you, Barb Ingalls. Thank you, Nancy Derringer. Thank you, with the last word always, Allan Lengel.
Drive home safely and happy New Year.
And especially on New Year's Eve.
Yes.
And thank you to our wonderful audience. Thank you to all of
New
you.
Year.
And Steve, God damn it, you don't have to go to work. Why did you leave so early?
I got to go to the bathroom, so I'm leaving. So.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful